10 years ago, Sarah and I wanted to do a podcast, and we started and we did a few episodes, but then we stopped. And in this video, we're going to think about why we stopped and why we're restarting now. What are your thoughts about this, Sarah?
Hey, that's not
fine.
fair.
That's fine. What are your thoughts about this, Sarah?
I don't like it. I don't like that. That's very unfair. You've just gone, you do my video.
No, but I just wanted to...
I need more. I need like a. So Sarah, why don't you tell us a bit about what the channel was about? Or you can't just say, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean,
No.
Okay, you don't like that.
That's not fair. That's not fair. I've come to answer questions and to tell my point of view.
No, this is for a conversation.
No, that's not a conversation. You don't start a conversation with, what do you think about this? That's way too broad. No.
Okay.
You can just leave that in.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good, actually.
Do you want to just leave
that in? Yeah. Let's just leave that in.
I mean, maybe this is...
no, I think this is
maybe
great.
This is actually a sign of what happened last time.
Yeah, no, but exactly. Okay.
All right.
So I think
okay, we'll leave that in to be true to ourselves.
Yeah. I think this is actually a great point, because that was the thing that we were struggling with when we were doing the first podcast. And see, like, we wanted to say, oh, we're so clever now. But really, like, well, at least now we can recognize it. We can recognize when there's an issue. So I think that, like, there's a tendency that we can have of perfectionism and wanting everything perfect. And what we realized was, to do a podcast, you need to let go a little bit.
Yeah, like, even now I'm thinking this isn't very good content. We've not even said what the podcast was about. So we're doing too many stumbling. It's not quick enough to the point. Oh my God! It says 5 minutes recording. It's a 5 minute. No, there was another false start. Okay.
Yes.
Right, because then I'm like, oh, people are going to click off, and
so
actually these things don't matter. Actually,
no, it's a lot of a critical voice, isn't it?
Right.
I can hear a lot of critical voice.
Right.
So what is the podcast about?
So the idea that we had 10 years ago was, I believe, actually before the word podcast was even really a thing, or at least I was not aware of anything called podcast. And actually it was, I'm not trying to claim here that we came up with the idea of podcast, but at least at the time, in the videos I was consuming on YouTube, they were mostly informative videos. So they would be someone who'd written some sort of script or done some kind of research, and then they would present their research or their ideas or information to the video, to the people watching. And so and the video like that takes a lot of effort to make. And I had discovered on my own channel, I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts and feelings and things about myself randomly on my channel. And I'd found that there's a personality type which is called INTJ, and we will discuss that either a bit more later on or in a different video. And I had found that if I just put INTJ in the title of my video, I could talk about anything and people would be interested, because they would be like analyzing my personality.
Right.
And so the idea with the INTJs Discuss is that we had kind of like, so INTJs Discuss was the channel that we made that was going to be some sort of podcast. And we made this in 2015. And the idea was it would be like just us two. And then what we would do is we would pick a random topic, then we would set a timer. I think it was 5 minutes, although we had thought about potentially doing it longer. Then we would just set a timer and we'd go, let's just talk about music for 5 minutes, or let's just talk about, I think languages was one of the episodes that we did manage to do.
The first one,
the first one, although that one I think is on private, but I'll watch it back and see if it's possible to make it public again. We do have a bloopers video available on that channel. It'll all be linked below. Such a YouTuber. So the idea with the INTJs Discuss would be that we could do videos that were unprepared, spontaneous, and required no editing, because the point was that we wouldn't edit it and we would leave it unedited, and that would somehow be the content. So that was the concept with INTJs Discuss. But weirdly, even though we had, the whole point of it was to do something authentic, and that if we put the timer for 5 minutes and then couldn't discuss anything about the topic or something like that, that in itself would be the content. So the idea was to be genuine and relaxed and just be ourselves. But then I think like we must have spent like half an hour just trying to do the opening sequence of the video where we're introducing our names, that we just kept on stumbling on. Max's native language is French, and you were introducing yourself. Instead of saying I'm Max, you were saying this is Max, which is still incredibly understandable. I noticed that you're not really with us anymore. Are you okay?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here. No, I'm here.
It's still understandable, and we probably should have just continued. Are you okay?
Yes, yeah. I'm okay.
You just look very serious.
Well, I'm just I'm listening to you.
Okay.
That's do you remember there was another video that we made? Where I was like listening to what people were saying, what you were saying, and then you were like, Max, are you fine? That was the video with Ace.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, just sometimes like Max has like kind of like internal things going on that are like making him upset or something.
I'm just listening.
Okay.
No, I'm just listening.
Okay. All right. Okay. So that was the idea with the original podcast, but then we just didn't. Part of the reason why we didn't do it was a perfectionism. Do you have in mind some other reasons about why you didn't want to do it? You said previously when we came up with the idea to do this video, you said that like you didn't realize that I was serious about making the videos. I don't know.
Well, I wasn't taking it seriously.
Right.
I think that, perfectionism was one thing, and I think we'll come back to it with some analysis with our personality types. But the other reason is I wasn't taking it seriously. I was thinking that work needed to be hard, work needed to be something that I didn't like, and that's really linked to, you could say, the defectiveness schema. So the defectiveness schema is a schema, part of Schema Therapy, and it's some therapy that combines lots of other traditions of therapy, like cognitive behavioral therapy and others, attachment styles. And the defectiveness schema is like, essentially, you think there's something wrong with you. And so then if you like doing something, then that's like more evidence that there's something wrong with you. And so you try to like run away from yourself all the time, because the farther away you are from who you are, then the more comfortable you are, because then you're outside of who you are, which was labeled as defective.
Right. So with the INTJs Discuss videos, it was, number one, you actually liked making videos and you thought it was interesting, but also the content of those videos was you being yourself. So on two levels, it was something to run away from, that I like it, but also I'm being me.
Right. Well, I think it was the same. It was one and the same, really. Like,
right. I mean,
like,
they're connected.
What you like is sort of like who you are,
Right. Okay.
And definitely. I mean, the defectiveness schema was something that I realized that I had, and really, and is the idea of like you wouldn't be part of a club that has you as its member, right. Because it's like, as soon as you found something that you like, then that thing must be wrong, because that's something that you like and you're wrong. So and so as a defense from that, I think I was like belittling it. I was like thinking, this is just something for fun,
Right.
But I didn't think that actually work is meant to be fun, like ideally.
Well, I don't know if work is meant to be fun, but I think the best work is fun.
The best work.
Or at least meaningful and purposeful, because maybe it's not fun, but you find purpose in it.
Well, right? Well, I mean, something like that. Well, fulfilling,
Right, fulfilling, yes.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine lots of things that you might find fulfilling that aren't fun. If you work
okay. But fun in the long term, let's say, as in fulfilling.
I don't know. That's
Well,
another
yeah.
conversation.
What I find fulfilling is like fun, in for
Right.
me, I guess. Even if it's like not superficially like, maybe it's a bit difficult, to do or something like that.
Yeah. So far we've got the reasons why we didn't do it was, I suppose it was difficult for us to do it because it was so perfectionist.
Yeah.
Then there's this aspect of you not necessarily taking it particularly seriously because you thought, well, there's no future in this, or there's no point of doing this. It's too fun.
Yeah, it's too fun. It's
Yeah.
bad because I like it.
I'm trying to think if there are other reasons why we didn't do it. I mean, I think that I was definitely more into YouTube than you.
Yeah.
And I think that you were probably a bit more into personality types than I was, which was what the videos were
Yes.
mostly about, personality
Yeah.
types. I think we do have a plan on Max's channel
Yes.
to do a bit more of a discussion about our personality types, because we're not INTJs.
No.
And the podcast would have been INTJs Discuss.
Yeah.
So I suppose, although it's sad that we didn't do it, it actually probably would have been like false in some, it wouldn't have been
Yeah.
good because it actually wasn't true. But we didn't know.
I think a third
but-
point. So
yeah.
you said, number one, perfectionism.
Yeah.
Number two is defectiveness.
Yes.
Number three, I think, is the lack of self-awareness. I think I had a lack of self-awareness, I
Right.
think, because I think it's a little bit linked with the other 2 points, but like, I didn't know what I liked. And so if you don't know what you like, and I actually, I was running away from it with the defectiveness schema, but I didn't know what I liked in the first place. So, because like, at least cognitively, I could have thought, oh, well, this is what you like. You need to force yourself to like, I don't know, do what you like or something. But I just didn't understand, I just didn't understand
Right.
who I was. And I thought I was an INTJ,
Right.
and
Yeah,
you also thought that,
Yes.
so we were both thinking that what was good was actually very different from ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is for the other video about the
Right.
INTJ thing. Let's
Yes,
not
yeah.
get too much into it.
Yeah.
I'm not totally agreeing
Right.
with that for
Right.
my version.
Right.
Although, yes, I have grown in awareness over
Right.
time. I think I was just more mistaken about what things meant.
Right.
But
I see.
this is very interesting, and I want to
Right.
continue it.
Right.
But let's focus on the podcast thing, if that's okay.
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
It's your channel. I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah.
take over.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I think for me, the lack of self-awareness was also, I guess I didn't really want to show myself, because what we're doing is somewhat of like a self-expression,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know what yourself is,
Right.
it's hard to express it.
And I think, I don't know if this is true, so correct me. But I think you said that. So we met. Well, we got together in 2015, which is when we started the channel. You said that one of the things that maybe you were attracted to about me was that I was expressing myself perhaps
Yes.
more freely than you were.
Yes.
And actually, maybe that again is another episode. But we met on YouTube, so he saw my YouTube video, and that's what he first liked. So I guess actually in the video I was. It was like a series of questions that you answer about yourself. So that in a way was self-expression, or it was at least being honest about what I thought about things or about my life.
Yeah, I really like that in the first video you were doing self-expression. I mean, naturally, I think now that I know who I am,
Right.
I like self-expression and I like more like artistic pursuits. And I suppose when I saw that in you, that was very attractive to me, because
Right.
that was a part of me that I was
Right.
repressing.
Right, okay. And so I suppose, let me just fix my hair. I suppose changing the conversation slightly. Now I'm sort of interviewing you.
That's fine. No, we don't need to do
Okay.
it.
How does it feel? I guess both of us can answer it. How does it feel to come back to this after 10 years? To like go through 10 years of life and then go, oh, actually this thing that we didn't do, actually this is something that we should be doing. To kind of think I don't know, not like we had an answer, because
Right.
we are who we are because of the 10 years we've gone through, where I've been off YouTube for, I think it's about 7 years or something like that. But now we're both back on YouTube. We're both doing channels now. How does it feel to have gone on like a soul searching thing and then to end up at the place that you started at?
Well, it's a good point. I think that on a certain level, like if you look at it, from one perspective, you can say, well, it's true, like we've come back to where we started.
Yeah.
But I think if you change the perspective and you look at it from a different angle, we looked at the INTJ Discuss videos just before this, like the bloopers video.
Yeah.
And I think that, for me, I can say when I look at myself, I see, like I've made a lot of progress, in self-awareness, in English, which is, just
your English was actually very good back then.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit more natural now.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, when I watch myself back, I think maybe it's slightly, I wouldn't say it's the opposite to you, but I think it's slightly different. Actually, when I see myself, and when I came back to YouTube, I think 3 months ago, after I think it was like a 7-year break or something, I'm now back on YouTube. And as part of coming back, I watched most of my old videos. So it was about maybe 100 videos. I didn't watch them in their entirety, but I watched them back just to kind of, I had this feeling that I would need to make a lot of them private because they were embarrassing or something like that. And actually, sorry, I was just thinking then, let's all be honest. I was just thinking then, do I say something like that a lot? But it's okay. I should just move on. When I actually went back and I looked at these videos that I thought were going to be really embarrassing, I looked back and I thought, oh my God, actually they're quite good. They're quite good. Can we continue talking about Max is putting his eye drops in?
I think so, because otherwise it's going to be impossible.
We can do another episode about Max's palaver with his eyes if we want. For anybody who's listening and not watching, Max has just put eye drops in his eyes, and now we are back on to Sarah talking about her YouTube videos. So what I found when I looked back is that actually I can see where improvements could be made in the videos, but I was actually quite proud of what I did and who I was, and I thought that I looked back and I thought, I'm pretty cool. Like in some of the videos, like some of the clothes that I'm wearing and stuff, I'm like, actually I'm pretty cool, and I didn't really know how cool it was what I was doing, or how good or different it was. And so actually when I look back and I see that video on INTJ Discuss, I know why it was that I left YouTube 7 years ago. It's because I was doing French content. I was doing content about learning French, and that isn't my passion. And I couldn't figure out at that time what I should do instead. But really, when I look back and I see me in that video 10 years ago, and I'm 20 years old, I think it's just such a shame, because I still see myself. I don't see, I know I can see that I'm a bit different, but when I look at it, I just see me, and it's still me, just me. And I'm like, I'm still the same person, and yet I'm 10 years on and I stopped.
Why do you think that, like when you look back, you think it was so cool, but actually when you were doing it, you didn't think it was so cool?
Well, I think there's something about, I'm not sure that this is the entire answer, but the thing that comes to mind is something like I hadn't really had a proper full-time job ever.
Right.
And although, I was getting like little bits of AdSense, like really not a lot, like maybe £30 a month, which was still, it was really like a very surreal thing to make a video in your bedroom and then get £30 and your bank statement that says Google on it. And you're like, oh my God, Google are paying me. But I didn't really see that as like a job or a career or anything like that. And so I think now, in having the experience of going into the workplace, getting promotions, not getting promotions, trying different jobs, I now look at the YouTube stuff and I think, there's so much freedom and independence, because when you're in a company and you work in a team, you can in some ways achieve more because there's more of you, there's more resources. If you're working in an entire company, you can definitely achieve things that you couldn't do as an individual. But when I see the YouTube stuff, it's pure self-expression. Because when you're in a company or in a team, there's always an aspect of maybe you even think the overall outcome is better, from everybody chipping in. But the YouTube, there was no interruption between me being in our flat in Paris on, thinking I'm going to film a video about being vegan in Paris, and then just editing it on my laptop, putting it on YouTube. There's no interruption. And maybe a more informative video is getting 10 people to come together and, for example, give their experience of being vegan in Paris. That might well be a more informative and factually correct video. But in terms of the self-expression, it's pure.
Yeah, it's more subjective.
What do you mean?
Well, you could say, if you have 10 different people, you get something which is more formatted or objectively, smooth, etc.
Which is probably, if you're looking at, how to be vegan in Paris, something like that, then actually probably a video done by 10 people might have more accurate information. But in terms of the self-expression aspect, there's no dilution. And so you were saying, why do I look back and think it was cool? I just think, I actually think that it takes a lot of guts to do this kind of thing. And I think because I was not really telling people that I was doing it, or I've never really had that many friends, so there was not anybody in my social circle being like, that's pretty amazing what you're doing. A lot of people wouldn't be willing to share the things they're doing online, or I don't feel like it's no blame on anyone who was around me at the time, but I don't feel like either I didn't understand or other people around me didn't highlight, this is actually pretty brave what you're doing.
Well, we wouldn't have met otherwise, you know. And also, interestingly, the podcast idea, actually, I had this idea very soon after we started chatting, it was partly because I wanted to find some project that we could work on together to interact more.
Yes.
But I actually had this idea very early on.
I remember that you had an idea of doing a blog. You wanted to write a blog together about this INTJ type, which we'll talk about in another video. And I remember, as you say, once we got together, I was like, so what should we write on the blog? And you were like, oh, well, I'm not really thinking we should do a blog.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just because I wanted to do something with you.
But then you said, why don't we do
a YouTube channel? Yeah. And, I don't know. I don't blame. Do you blame little Sarah and Max?
No, I don't. I think, I had this flawed understanding of who I was. And actually, if you think about, and we'll do more in another video, but if you think about our types, so drum roll, ENFP, ENTP, actually someone said ENFP in one of our videos.
Right, but they also listed lots of other types. So, what's the phrase? A broken clock is correct.
Well, there was one person. If you want to, if you're still here, you can say, they said, "Oh, ENFP for Sarah," and we proceeded to ignore them as you do. And actually, whoever you are, you were right. But so ENFP, ENTP, and actually,
which won't mean something to many people.
Yes, that's true.
And we're sorry if you're not.
That's true.
Not interested in that.
So these are on my channel.
Okay.
But some of you will still not know what it is. So brief introduction. These are Myers-Briggs personality types. This is just a way for us to categorize our personalities. It means that we are extroverted, intuitive, and perceivers. So that's ENP.
Yeah, but you'll have to explain. Even those words, people have different understandings of. For instance, extroverted.
That's true.
That's why we need to.
You can look on my channel. I've got a video explaining about the concept of extroversion because we thought that we were introverts because we're barely social.
This isn't for this video.
Okay, this is not for this. What I wanted to say is that these types like self-expression. Right. So actually, for me, my flawed understanding of myself based on the INTJ thing.
So weirdly, you didn't do INTJs discuss because you thought you were an INTJ.
Wow, that's deep. That's accurate. That's exactly it. Yeah, because as an INTJ, you know, like you create a company or like you're a software engineer, you know.
I mean, that's how I excuse the perfectionism. Yeah. In fact, in the bloopers video, where I'm like, oh, we're so perfectionist because we're INTJs, you know. Yeah. And so you can find things to back
actually,
up stuff.
So the explanation of the perfectionism, so now we're at this point. So and now this is a little more deep in the MBTI theory, but for ENFP, ENTP, we have a similarity, which is that our inferior cognitive functions, so in the MBTI, you have different cognitive functions, which are supposedly how your brain functions. Depending on the personality type. Now you're thinking
I'm doing fine. No, I'm just thinking, oh my God,
channel.
Everybody just clicked off. Yeah. I know, but it doesn't matter, Sarah. I know it's your channel.
It's
sorry, analyze our behavior. It's cool.
Yeah,
this is what we're like.
We're analyzing it. So,
okay.
In our ways that we function, but it's good. You're also an audience for some people who might not be as geeky about this as me, as interested about this.
Sorry.
And so. No, you don't need to.
No. But now there was someone who was interested in what you were saying, and now they hate me because I interrupted you.
It's all right. It's all right. Everything's under control. Okay. So the way that we need to function, but we don't like to function, is to focus on the details.
Right.
That's called introverted sensing. And that's our so-called inferior function. It's also called the 3-year-old function. So it means that we have the maturity of a 3-year-old when it comes to like details and like practical stuff, etc.
Right.
So we're actually not very good at it.
Is that why we're bad at scripted stuff?
Yes, exactly.
Right, so going back, tying everything together in a lovely bow, at the beginning of this video, you saw us having an argument about a scripted section.
Yes.
Is that precisely
Well, it's exactly this. Because like we want to like improvise, essentially.
Right.
We want to improvise.
But we couldn't get to the improvising bit without first kind of being like, oh, hi everyone, welcome to the video. But then like we can't ever get past, which is precisely... That behavior was precisely what happened in the INTJs discussion.
And actually, if you look at some podcasts, like Joe Rogan, for example, they start in medias res, I think it's called.
In what?
In medias res.
In medias res.
I think it's something like that, which means that they start in the middle of it.
Oh, right.
Like they start, like they're having a conversation already, and then they cut and they start rolling. You know,
maybe we should do
I think maybe we should do that. Yeah. Because then it's like all it's all improvisational,
right,
you know. So and then we don't rely on this introverted sensing, which is like following a script, doing things detailed,
and
precise.
Also, I suppose if you're someone who is sorry to put back on the YouTube hat, I need to. Oh, he's kicking my leg out.
But you were resting your leg on my leg.
Well, I'm sorry. There's not much space. Right, so what was I saying? Yeah, if you're someone who is seeking content that is more improvised and natural, and then it wouldn't be representative of our content if the first 1 minute of our video was like, hello and welcome back to Max's channel, where today we're going to be talking about 1, 2, 3.
Because what we like is to improvise, you know, and self-expression. If you think of the way that we like to self-express, like we don't like to self-express, but just like reading a script that we've prepared or something like this.
Right.
Yeah, this is something that we really don't like. And so the perfectionism, because if you think about it, like there are different kinds of perfectionism.
Right.
You know, like our perfectionism was around these like very minute details of what we were saying, etc.
Which probably didn't matter,
Which probably didn't matter. But actually there are things that we're really not perfectionist about.
Okay.
Like, for example, like what we talk about, like when we're in these improvisational bits, like we don't really care so much, like...
Well, I don't know. I mean, you might be right, but like immediately I go into like challenging everything that you're saying, which might be part of my personality. I don't know. But like, I suppose we've decided that the content that we want to produce is like, oh, in this thing, question mark, like, oh, it's some sort of like black box, like we'll get in the situation and we'll see what we say. And so then it's deliberate. So
yes, but we have quite a lot of freedom within this.
Right.
You know, like...
But it's perfectionist, like if, for example, we started being too scripted, I would go, oh, no, we're being too scripted. So that's kind of perfectionism in the other way.
Right, right. I see what you mean.
Right.
So we like to focus on the process. So our focus is on the process, as in, like, we want to keep it improvisational.
Right. Okay.
Right. So that's, if you want, that's something that we're, you know,
perfectionistic.
Well, I mean, that's a little bit extreme.
Okay.
The thing is that perfectionism is a negative term. So yes. So, you know, for these things about like keeping it improvisational, we don't need, you know, we have no problem about that. You know, that's fine. Like, we both agree that this is what we're doing, etc.
Right.
And we stick to it, and we have no problem. The perfectionism means, like, the full name of perfectionism really is perfectionism overcompensation.
Right.
And it's
right. So really, what's happening with me is just that I care about that, and it's not really slipped into perfectionism. It's just that I care about something because we're meant to be doing something, and that creates the best outcome.
And so the overcompensation means that you're overdoing a process that you're not good at.
Right.
So when you're doing the 3-year-old, and you're sort of like over soliciting a 3-year-old, like, you start crying, and you know, so that's what we're doing. We're over soliciting the introverted sensing.
And actually, what you see in that bloopers video, which we will have to link so people can watch it, is that on the attempt that we did eventually do that first bit correct, we then stumbled at the next block, where we were meant to then sort of improvise and move on to something else. We'd focus so much on the like, hi, I'm Aurella, as I was calling myself. Hi, I'm Aurella. Hi, I'm Max. And we finally did it. And then we were just like, so today we're talking about languages. Like, we hadn't even, we focused so much on that, we didn't even know what was going on.
Because we were always focused on this introverted sensing, doing things perfectly, saying the things perfectly, etc. But it was perfection in the sense of like essentially doing a script, you know, and that's not what we're good at. We were overusing, over-exhausting our inferior function. Okay. And that's what Jung calls being in the shadow. Right. And that's what we were doing. I wanted to say something else.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. No.
Immediately assumes that it's my fault.
Yeah, you don't need to apologize. You don't need to apologize. No, I was just thinking, you know, like, because we can blend MBTI with Schema Therapy. And so actually, perfectionistic overcompensator is called a coping mode. Right. In a schema coping mode in Schema Therapy. Actually, it's one way that you're dealing with an unpleasant situation, but in a kind of like unhealthy way. Right. It's a fight response. So perfectionistic overcompensator is when you're like essentially like you're in a dangerous situation, there's a tiger or something like that. In our case, it was just like reading a few lines. Okay. Well, you know, progress, you know, we're not the same as we were like 1,000 years ago, but our brain is still the same. So when we're stuck, you know, with this kind of a thing, and we think we're not quite equipped to do it. Right. Yeah. We're like, oh, we're not doing very well at this. Exactly. Yeah. And so what we do when we're doing these things badly is we double down. And so we fight, i.e., like we pour more and more and more energy. Right. And because we both have this process, which is quite incredible, it means that no one was there to like balance it. You know, we were both overusing the 3-year-old that was like fighting a tiger, you know, and that was getting more and more worked up. I don't have like proper memories of us filming it, but when you look at the bloopers video, it's clear that we did it on 2 days. Because we were wearing 2 different outfits. Right. And on some of them, you even commented that you can notice that the sun has gone down. Yes. So that means that on 2 days, we probably spent all day. No, I don't think it was all day. Okay. I think it was in the afternoon. Okay, well, some of the day. Yeah, some of the day. Okay. I'm just thinking about the start of the video because that was like neither of us were intending to include that. No, but actually I think it was perfect. I'm even thinking when I watch it back, it would be entertainment for us because we don't know what we said because it was so natural. Yeah, exactly. And you know, like I think something that we can really bring to YouTube is precisely the thing that we're best at, which is extroverted intuition. And I think as well, improvisational. And so there's the improvisational, sorry, I interrupted you. The improvisational, the improvisational thing. Yes, and then there's also what we're maybe different at over the last 10 years, which is I think that we've accepted ourselves more.
and so we're more prepared to be ourselves in the world.
Exactly.
So there's the improvisation plus we don't mind sharing that, whereas I think perhaps we would have cut things out.
Well, 100%, because in the end, self-esteem and the defectiveness schema are linked.
Okay.
So because like if you feel defective, then you don't have self-esteem. Like by definition, it means that yourself, you have
it's almost self-hatred or self-dislike.
Yes, you have a negative view of yourself.
Okay.
So if you have a negative view of yourself, you don't have self-esteem. That's the definition of self-esteem.
Right.
You know, like, so the defectiveness schema is like the opposite of self-esteem, is you feel defective. Okay. So because we have a bit more self-esteem, we don't mind sharing that with the world. Because before that was the subject of shame, I suppose, you know, like shame.
Yeah, and I suppose it's not even that we don't mind sharing it, but that we almost think it's our most valuable asset in some way.
But it is. I think it is. You know, it's when we're like this, like very.
So maybe that answers the question. If there's anybody thinking, why are you guys uploading this big mess, whatever, it's because we're prepared to do so, and most people aren't. And that we weirdly think that us being ourselves is somehow either informative or entertaining.
But I think it is. I think it is. That's our best selves, I think. Okay. You know, and that's what other people would find this, probably what we're doing, very difficult. You know, probably. Okay. I mean, people who have our top improvisational function, extroverted intuition, as their 3-year-old, they would find that what we're doing is very difficult. Okay. Right? Just like what we find that following a script perfectly is actually very difficult. Some people would think that the improvisation is very difficult. For me, the improvisation feels effortless. Like, right? Almost.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously, so this is the first video that we're filming. I don't know what order all these things will get uploaded in, but this is the first one we're filming. So when you say it feels effortless, there are moments, this is new to us, there are moments where it feels effortless, and I think that it's a good direction. There are other times where I'm still getting used to the fact that, like, you know, like for instance, I have a smudge on my glasses. I've got smudge on my glasses.
Well, no, but see, it's a perfect example. It's a perfect example. Okay. So the flow stops when you're in introverted sensing. Okay. Because you notice so it's sensing, so it's a detail about the world, so it's a factual thing. Okay. And then you focus on this, focus on the detail. That's introverted sensing. It means that you're in your 3-year-old. Like, okay, so I notice like I have a smudge on my glasses, that makes me stress, and then I think anything around like, oh, people might think this is boring, or like, oh, we're talking too long, or something like that. Is that still in? So this is another thing. Okay. That's your critical parent. Okay. So because you're ENFP, your second function, auxiliary function, is introverted feeling. And so that's also called your supportive parent. Right. The extroverted version of that is your critical parent. Okay. Okay.
So my critical parent is going, you're talking too long and everybody's clicked off.
Yeah, it's about like societal norms. Oh, so you think that, you know, you have some sort of societal norms, like on YouTube, we don't talk about things like that, or we, you know.
Or like, oh, this is too long, or you're being, you know, you're taking up people's time, or maybe not you're taking up people's time because everyone could just click off, but like, oh, everybody's clicking off and you're not going quick enough and it's not interesting enough. Like, that's the voices that I hear.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But for you, what matters is to focus on authenticity, introverted feeling, as opposed to like social norms that you think.
It's just like, well, I still think this conversation is interesting, so I'm going to continue. And some people can click off if they're bored, but other people will still be here. Hi, guys.
Hello. Thank you. All right.
Your video.
Let's wrap up. Okay. But let's not. We don't need to like make it so formal again, like introverted sensing about the ending.
But there will be There will be more videos, and there'll be some videos on my channel as well. Yes.
So there will be a video on your channel, and it's going to be about the fact that you have cuddly toys and that you like making them talk.
Yeah. It's going to be about that.
Yeah, it's going to be about that. So look forward for moments of Sarah cringing. But the cringing is, again, an aspect of the extroverted feeling. Okay. This like societal norms. Like, as an adult, you don't make Cuddly Toys Talk.
Well, I mean, I've grown a lot in this respect, given that my channel is now a channel where I'm talking about my cuddly toys.
You have. But it's interesting, because like your reaction is typical of that. But more on this on Sarah's channel. Okay.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. And please subscribe, like, comment. We would love it. As a YouTube creator,
It's really difficult when nobody writes anything. We will just keep going.
Yeah.
But it's, if you have something to say, please do say it.
Yes.
Or like if you just like it, say that you liked it.
Yeah.
Because we're just like sending things into the void.
Yeah. It means a lot for us. It's a great motivation.
Now that we're being authentic, the comments matter a lot. I mean,
they mattered before as well.
But I mean, like. All right,
we're
now
we're
we're getting off track a bit again, and we ended it, but then we didn't end, etc.
Okay.
But like when I was doing content that I was less attached to, so my French content, when people wrote comments, I felt more removed from it.
Yeah.
Whereas now that we're being ourselves, if someone writes, if somebody writes, "I don't like you," we still just think, okay. But when people appreciate it or whatever, it means a lot more. It's a lot more purposeful, and that's what we were talking about before. Anyway, let's.
No, but I love it personally. Like it's amazing to think that someone else has loved your comment, your video, and has commented.
So we're back.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye bye.